Welcome to today's Explainer. So, we're going to be unpacking a truly profound piece of writing today, and it tackles something literally every single one of us faces, but, very few people actually want to talk about. We're diving into the brutal, completely unglamorous reality of why life gets hard, and more importantly, why, when it does, our first instinct is almost always just to quit. We're looking at a text that totally strips away all that typical motivational fluff and forces us to confront the actual everyday mechanics of resilience. All right, let's just dive right into this and see what it actually takes to build a mind that simply refuses to break.
Some people give up too early. Now, it's a super simple sentence, right? But man, it carries immense weight. As the source text points out, people don't just quit randomly out of nowhere. They quit because they hit a massive wall. They quit because they encounter real, suffocating resistance. Basically, they quit because life suddenly tightened its grip, and they had this false belief that having faith, or maybe just having a really good plan, would somehow eliminate all the suffering. If you've ever felt that absolute crushing pressure to just walk away from something you genuinely care about, well, this analysis is going to completely change how you view that feeling. And that really brings us to a central question here. Why does life get so hard? Why does the pressure always seem to increase? The text presents this fascinating core paradox. It tells us that problems do not stop just because you're strong. Actually, it's the exact opposite. You become strong specifically because you faced those problems head on. Life was literally never designed to be comfortable all the time. It's meticulously designed to reveal who you truly are when the pressure is on. I mean, it's easy to keep a great posture when everything is going perfectly, right? But the real test is always when things get tough. Section 1. The illusion of the easy path. The myth of victory without effort.
We live in a world that is just constantly selling us shortcuts. We are totally conditioned to look for the fastest, easiest route to the top, hoping we can just bypass all those grueling, unrecognized spaces where the real growth actually happens. We're obsessed with this idea of victory without process. We want the end result without having to do the actual construction. We want to go far, but without enduring the walk. But here is the harsh, unavoidable reality. Life works in stages. You simply cannot bypass the architecture of your own growth. If you try to skip those fundamental steps of building yourself up from the ground, your foundation is absolutely going to crumble under the sheer weight of your own ambitions. Section 2. The power of the hidden process, the preparation phase. The text emphasizes something absolutely crucial here. The most critical, foundational growth you will ever experience happens completely in the shadows. It happens miles and miles away from the applause, the likes, and any external recognition. And notice the strict order of operations required for true growth here. Before the structure appears, there's silence. Before the recognition arrives, there's anonymity. And before the strength is fully realized, there's immense pressure. So many people forfeit their future because they simply cannot tolerate this present reality. They can't sit in the silence, they absolutely hate the anonymity, and they run for the hills from the pressure. But listen, these aren't punishments. They are prerequisites. The source offers this brilliant reframing of what it calls life's phases. There are people right now, maybe even you, who believe they're being totally destroyed by their circumstances, when in reality, they're being prepared. These phases didn't arrive to end you, they arrived to mature you. There's a massive, fundamental difference between someone who falls and learns and someone who suffers and just surrenders. The storm itself isn't the problem. Everybody faces storms. The real problem is allowing that storm to destroy your core identity. Section 3. The greatest war is internal. The battlefields of the mind. We spend so much of our energy fighting external circumstances, blaming the economy, complaining about our bosses, or just cursing our bad luck. But the source text argues that the real battlefield is entirely in the mind. The true struggle isn't against some giant on the outside, it's against your own impulses, your own emotional instability, and your own internal limitations. And to win that internal war, growth has to happen in very deliberate, sequential levels. First, you've got to learn to master your impulses, those immediate reactive desires to just quit or lash out. Second, you have to learn to control your emotions, ensuring they actually inform you rather than dictate your actions. And finally, you learn to control your mind. Once you master this sequence, you realize the biggest fight was always inside your own choices and your own discipline. Win the war inside, and I guarantee you'll start winning on the outside. Now, there is a very clear dividing line between two specific types of mindsets. The vast majority of people default to complaining, seeking blame, and constantly looking for the next shortcut. But the rare few? They choose to assume absolute responsibility.
They focus on developing themselves and doing the really tedious, unglamorous work of building a solid base. Look, the world is completely full of highly talented, intelligent people who ultimately lose, simply because they lack emotional stability and discipline. Taking full responsibility is quite literally the only way to build that stability.
Section 4. Principles above motivation. The foundation of winners.
We've all been heavily sold on this idea that we need to feel motivated to get things done, right? Well, the source text bluntly shatters this myth, stating that relying on motivation is a total trap. And why is that? Because motivation passes, emotions change, difficult days are inevitably going to arrive. So when that motivation vanishes, what actually keeps you moving? Principles. Deep-seated, unwavering principles are the only things that sustain people through the darkest phases of life. True principles require constancy. They demand character in secret, because who you are when you're entirely alone matters infinitely more than the shiny image you project to everyone else. It requires discipline in the silence and a fierce, unyielding commitment when there's absolutely zero applause. Because the true test of your strength is your ability to deliver excellence on just a random, ordinary Tuesday when nobody is watching and nobody is cheering you on. The text uses some seriously powerful imagery to cement this idea. Coal only becomes a diamond because it endured pressure. I really want you to absorb that for a second. You cannot enter a new level of your life carrying your old, comfortable mindset. It just doesn't work. There is a very specific type of transformation that can only occur under immense, crushing pressure. So if you're feeling that heavy weight right now, recognize it for what it truly is. It is the forge of your own value. And the metaphor continues right here. Gold is only refined because it faced fire. Strong people are formed in the exact same way. The text strongly urges us to stop believing that the universe is just conspiring against us. Every single person you meet out there is fighting battles that nobody else sees. We are all fighting silent wars. The fire isn't there to burn you down to ashes. It is there to burn away everything that isn't essential, leaving behind only what is truly resilient.
Section 5. The decision to continue. Who you decide to be.
Knowing all of this, knowing about the hidden process, the internal war, and the absolute necessity of pressure, we finally arrive at the climax of the text. Life is going to present you with the pressure, for sure, but life will not make the choice for you. Everyone experiences the exact same pain and setbacks. The profound difference lies entirely in the choice. You can take that pain and transform it into an excuse to stop, or you can transform it into the very fuel you need to keep going. Ultimately, what defines you isn't how many times you are knocked down by the storm. It is exclusively defined by how many times you made the deliberate, sometimes agonizing choice to stand back up.
So the call to action here is simple, and it's rapid fire. Keep building, keep evolving, keep learning. You have to continue even when you're completely exhausted. Continue even when there is absolutely zero recognition. Continue even in total silence. You can't just wait around for the perfect moment to act. True winners learn how to execute in the middle of total chaos. You just have to keep putting one foot in front of the other, no matter what.
And this brings us to the culminating truth of our explainer today. Extraordinary people are built in the process that most abandon. Think about that. Extraordinary people do not just appear ready-made out of thin air. They are simply ordinary people who completely refuse to quit when the process got ugly. Now, maybe no one is watching your struggle right now, but the text promises that every single silent battle you win is constructing someone that the future simply will not be able to stop. The next time that pressure hits, and the silence feels deafening, and you're so tempted to just take the easy path, remember the process. The resistance you're feeling is the exact thing making you strong. So ask yourself, who will you decide to be in the storm?